Christopher Bradley Hole. I'm the designer of the Telegraph garden at the Chelsea Flower Show. Well, for this year's Chelsea, I really wanted to make a minimalist garden because I think there's a great quality in minimalism, but because there's a lot of purity about it, and I think it can resonate really and give a really feeling of calmness and allow you to bring your own ideas when you look at it. I wanted to make a minimalist garden that had a lot of plants in it, if that's not an oxymoron. And so there are a lot of similar plants in the garden. I think there's going to be a sort of similarity of character and personality within the planting, but it's still going to be full of plants really. I think it'll be interesting, but what I'm hoping is that I still retain that minimalism, but still see a lot of, in a way, a sort of tapestry of planting. I think a lot of interest in the planting as well. The garden is an evocation of the English landscape. It's inspired by three ideas: the English landscape itself, also by the Japanese approach to garden making, and thirdly by abstract art. I think the complication when you take inspiration from the landscape is that there are so many ideas. Everywhere you look there's something changing, the light's changing, there are details everywhere. And the danger is, as a designer, that you want to put everything into one composition of a small garden. And of course you can't do that, so you have to pick certain ideas really. And I think what is very interesting here is the way that the river behind us actually flows through the landscape. And I think a curving river actually sometimes disappears behind woodland, so that you just see a bit of water and then it disappears and then it re-emerges again. And in the garden at Chelsea we have 3 pools, and really that is expressing the idea of water disappearing behind woodland then re-emerging again. I've been fascinated for some time about the link between England and Japan as being 2 island nations, and the way that they, on the face of it, they have 2 very different approaches to the way that they make things. But I think I'm very interested in their similarity of approach, and I think a lot of that comes through this sort of both being island nations. And I was particularly inspired by one garden in Kyoto, the garden of Yuan-ji, where you see stones coming out of gravel. And the stones really represent islands coming out of the Seto Inland Sea in Japan. And when I went to that area, I suddenly realized what that garden was about. And the inspiration for this garden is doing the same idea, that sort of abstract design, but to do it with the English landscape. And the English landscape started out as we were a wooded landscape. And then when people started to begin to settle, they started cutting away into this woodland and forming areas for cultivation and settlement. And so then you started getting clearings in the landscape, and what you see now, I think, is really the vestige of that landscape. You're seeing bits of woodland which remain, you're seeing field patterns where hedges have been planted, and you're seeing a sort of geometry applied over the land. And I find that very fascinating, and I'm trying to express that in the design for Chelsea.